Good evening. Today has been crazy. I went into work, which wasn't that crazy, but we've had to move out furniture and bring in a million smaller tables to accommodate all of our two-person parties for dates for Valentine's Day weekend. And then today was the Super Bowl and everything, so a lot of action, a lot of anticipation. It's gonna be all crazy. So I'm on the way into work, and I stopped to get change for my cash bank, and I buy Girl Scout cookies. I'm so excited. So I'm going on all excited and on a high because I got Samoas, and I'm really excited. I'm still chewing one up, and yeah, the shift is kind of low key, but whatever. It's going well. And at the end of the night, the girl, me and this one girl were sharing the covered patio outside, and her table was like, hey, do you mind grabbing our server? We need to get our check and get out of here. And I was like, yeah, sure. And I felt this ooh, maybe they have stomach upset due to rich food. So I was like, I get them out of here. We don't want to ruin the date. So I go rush over, and I'm like, hey, they need their check. They're in a kind of a rush to get out of here. They seem to urgent. So she goes and drops the check. I go back to the server pass to get something, and somebody's like, oh, are you out on the patio? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, here, take this. And it was this cold, wet rag. And I was like, but no explanation. And so I was like, oh, did someone get a stain? Or was there a cut or something? And so I'm going towards the patio, and I walk out, and there's this crowd around this man who's laying out on the floor. His girlfriend is hysterical at the table. And he looks blue, and there are people, it's an emergency situation is happening, and I'm walking in there did somebody need a cold compress? I'm just I feel like I'm being sent in to handle the plague with hey, I just have this cup of juice. It was just so weird and so awkward. But miraculously, the women at my table were both medical professionals, and one of the women was an EMS first responder, and the other woman worked, I think, in the emergency room, or she was a nurse at the hospital. So they knew what to do, and they were handling it, and we had an ambulance come. But as it turns out, they think he was having a heart attack. Which is crazy. Either that, or they said it's possible because of the way that his blood pressure was so low. They said it's not uncommon, and I'm telling you this so that this does not happen to you. But they said that it's not unusual for men to take Viagra that's not prescribed to them, and take two thinking it'll be better, and then drink, and then they have their blood pressure drops so much that they his heart was stopped for a minute, so he really could have died. So if you need Viagra, make sure to get your own prescription and don't mess around with it, because apparently it's really dangerous, and apparently it's a blood pressure medicine, and not actually just an erectile medicine. I guess they just market it that way because they can sell more. But yeah, so I feel really disheveled. But I wanted to come home and do our weekly spread. I think that, I always use my Oracle of Oddities deck every week, and it gives me a real sense of what the week is going to look like. So I might just use this on Sundays just for our weekly reading. But I don't know. I don't want to commit to any rules or anything. So we'll just keep rolling with it for now. But yeah, let's see what we can expect from the week ahead, and what we can keep our heads up to take advantage of opportunities for, and what we need to be on the lookout for so we can avoid pitfalls. All right. Ooh. Okay, so we got 3. One more, please. One more. Oh, love this. Okay, so very interesting. Let me look at this for a second. Okay, so we have power. We have listen. We have toxic. And we have support. Now, right off the bat, I feel okay, so this power card has these purple flowers growing in and around the heart. And purple is a symbol of spirituality and magic and royalty. But in this particular case, I feel that the more heart-centered that we can be this week, and tuning in and listening to the messages from our heart, it's going to begin to encourage us to weed out. It's going to reveal something that's toxic to us. So if we tune into the heart this week, we had a message in, I believe, our Valentine's reading that whatever was holding us back in the way of love, it was a spiritual issue to overcome. Meaning that it's not something that is just one of those obvious like physical world day-to-day things like, oh, well, you need to like clean up your habits here or there. Like it's more of a spiritual issue. So it must be something that is buried in our subconscious, or it's a wound from the past that we're still healing or carrying with us, or a perception that isn't as compassionate or expanded as it could be. So I think that life is really trying to stretch us in that area, and I think that we're already like going along with it and willing. So I think that tuning into the heart and praying for guidance and really listening, like getting quiet. You know, it's hard for some people to get really quiet and listen and not feel like they need to pray or they need to fill their head with like chatter or like talking. If you can be in the stillness, you know, go out and take a walk in nature by yourself, be in the quiet stillness, and just allow whatever to come through. And when you start having like these, you'll like kind of get in a trance state, and you'll be having these like daydreams and visions. And it's not the kind of daydreams where you're like dress rehearsing an argument that probably will never happen, or like a scenario where you're like, well, I know that they're probably doing this and I'm going to say that. You know, have you ever had like, you ever hurt your own feelings because you had like some imaginary scenario in your mind play out that never even happened? So don't do that. But when you are, you know, really connecting with your spirit and your soul, and you're doing something that's like really good for you, or you're just tranquil and you're just quiet, and you start getting these visions, and those visions are of things that are expansive and hopeful and get you excited and start giving you these inspirations and ideas, those are the things you need to pay attention to and follow. And I think that it will highlight to you what is toxic in your life that you need to get rid of. And I think that it's specifically pointing out these lungs that are blackened. So if you need to quit smoking, maybe you need to quit smoking and take whatever relevancy this has for you, these blackened lungs. But I think that what we need to do is breathe, listen, and get into that heart space, where that heart is that information processor, and your heart can be aware of things before your mind can be. So it's sort of like it's ahead of the game a bit, like on a timeline level, like almost like a future perceptor. So listen to your heart, and it will guide you, and it will support you. And your life, it's like whatever you're getting rid of, it's almost like that one last little thing that's standing in the way of having like this really aligned, supported life. The universe right now is trying to cultivate this beautiful life that we love. But in order to do that, you know, I think that sometimes after we heal so many things in our lives and we change all the pieces around and we're like, okay, everything should be good. Like I've done, you know, I've addressed all these issues. Sometimes the final issue we need to address is just ourselves. Like the last dragon that we need to slay is our self-doubt, or our tendency to catastrophize, or unfounded worry, you know, those things. And those things are hard on your body too. And I also am getting that grief, if you are drowning in emotion, I believe that can eventually become expressed as pneumonia. So if you're having any lung issues right now that you don't usually have, or you're noticing like maybe you have a respiratory thing, I think that you should be aware, or like maybe check yourself and do some inventory to see if like, are you overwhelmed by emotion right now? Are you drowning in emotion? Because I think that it can manifest in pneumonia, or in those lung illnesses that put a lot of fluid in your chest. So be aware of that. Otherwise, I think that it's a really positive week, even though we have this toxic card. It's just like it's gonna become revealed what's toxic. And even if there's not like a message that we can hear or something that's obvious, I think that by tuning into the heart space and getting really aligned with that and aligned with that spiritual intention, and starting to feel the supportiveness of your life coming through, the contrast of what's not supporting your new life is going to be a lot more apparent. It's not going to be something that you're going to have to like go searching for, like, what is this? What's holding me back? I don't know. It'll be more obvious because everything else will be supportive. And you'll start hearing and like getting these like messages and start understanding. And then also, just on a practical note, work on your listening skills. When you're sitting with a person or talking to them, really just give them the space to say what they want to get everything off their chest. Be a good listener by just having the patience not to want to fill the air with like saying something back or waiting to like listening, but like also thinking about what you're going to say next. Just be really present. I found that like sometimes people like they just need to be witnessed, and if you can let someone like pour out their heart and like get everything off their chest that they've been through and just hear their story, you don't even have to say anything. You don't have to help them. You don't have to come up with any solution. Just listening and being understanding and acknowledging like the pain and the difficulty is very healing and very validating, I think. And I think it can help you let go and move on, because I think sometimes we just want to have someone bear witness to our pain. Like that feeling where you're like, is anyone seeing this? Like, oh my God, like, am I the only one? And you're like, oh, my angels will bear witness for me. So if somebody needs to, talk or whatever, just be aware that it can be a really, a special gift that you can give them to just sit and listen and just accept them, and don't try to change it, and just let them feel the way they feel, let them think what they think, and just listen and take it in. But yeah, so one more time, we have power, and the power is in your hands, and a heart is in your hands. So be aware of that. Like, I just had this image of like, this is someone's heart that you kind of have the power over, or that, it's like, be careful with it. Be careful with people's feelings right now. And listen to them. Help absorb some of that toxicity and help them transmute it just by listening and being there and being a support. So it's not just about how your life is becoming more supported, but it's about the fact that like, the better that we're doing, it's great for us to be more comfortable and happy, but it's even better if we can use that sense of stability and security and share it with others and help give them, the kind of comfort that helped you get there. And it doesn't mean preaching at people or anything. It just means like giving them the space, holding the space for them. And when you say like, what is holding space? It just means that you allow someone to be free to be themselves without trying to fix or change the situation or give them like a prescription of like what they should do or how they should handle it. Just allow them to be whatever they need to be in that moment. And just don't judge them. Don't try to convince them otherwise, just be an encouragement. But they always say Jesus was a gentleman. He wasn't like a high pressure salesman. And that's so true. He was he would always go around and just be like, look, this is the way I see it. Like, this is kind of the best way, but it's up to you. Like, if you want to come, like, we're going to go over here and hang out and talk. You can come with us. We're going to be with, like, hanging out with all the lepers and the tax attorneys and all of the outcasts. You can come if you want to. If not, that's cool. He wasn't like, no, you've got to listen to me. Like, he was not that person. He was not standing on the soapbox. Like, the end is nigh. Like, that wasn't really his bag. Like, he was just really accepting. And so, be accepting of others, be supportive of others. You have the power yeah, just be careful with people's hearts, I think. So yeah, it'll be an interesting week to see what happens. It's funny about this heart after that guy had the heart attack, maybe. So crazy. Yeah. What a wild night. I'm just like, whew. All right. Well, tomorrow's Valentine's Day. Whee! I'll be at work. You can send my gifts there. Thank you. Good night.